Hi, and welcome back to Reflect Forward. I'm your host, Kerry Siggins, and I'm so glad you are here today. Today, I want to encourage you to ditch the easy button. We're going to discuss why doing hard things leads to a happier life. And I want to start the episode by asking you a question. When was the last time you intentionally chose discomfort to grow stronger? Now, I'm sure some of you are out there like, yep, I do it every day. I try to too, because I know how much growth I've gained because of doing hard things. But most of us don't go out and seek doing hard things. We don't seek pain. We seek pleasure. We avoid pain. And it's really important that we do hard things every day. And a big part of it is that in modern day life, everything is easy. And I'm not saying emotionally it's easy. I mean, there's certainly things that are going on in the world that cause us stress and anxiety and issues in our personal life. But when you think about the conveniences of life, it's easy. We have next day deliveries, we have endless entertainment at our fingertips. When we're bored, we can easily figure out a way to not be bored by scrolling. We have food that comes to us easily. We have a plethora of substances to help us numb ourselves when we are feeling down or we want to escape. We have all kinds of behaviors that we can lean into that just are easy. But the issue is that those easy things are actually making us unhappier. But we don't realize it because we're in this loop within our brains of constantly seeking pleasure and then having to reset in our brains because we are overly stimulating ourselves with so much at our fingertips. And so that's what I want to talk about today, because in a world full of shortcuts, it's doing hard things that truly shapes us as resilient, fulfilled leaders. So let's talk a little bit about the importance of doing hard things. As you know, growth does not happen in comfort zones. And as I always say in my podcast, getting outside your comfort zone means that you're expanding your competency zone. We never are good at anything when we first start out. We have to try new things. We have to practice. We have to stumble. We have to fail before we get good at it. And I love this quote by James A. Froude, who says, "You cannot dream yourself into a character. You must hammer and forge yourself into one." And that is so true. We are the creators of our lives. And the things that we intentionally do or not do is what creates who we are going to be in the future. Just like you build muscle through resistance, right? Lifting weights, you build that muscle. You build resilience through doing hard things, through learning new skills, through that consistent practice. And you get strength through adversity, because let's face it, nobody ever says, "Oh, that was so easy. Everything went so smoothly. I learned so much from that." No, it's from falling on our faces. It's from pushing ourselves beyond what we thought we were capable of. It's about depriving ourselves of something that actually makes us stronger. So it's really important to not shy away from adversity, to get outside that comfort zone, to push yourself so that you can build that character, that you can build who you want to be in the future. And I mean, look at yourself right now. If you say in 2 years, if I'm exactly where I am right now, will I be happy? And I think most of us would say no. Well, the only way to not be who you are today is to work on yourself. The other reason why we need to do hard things every day is that we have to counteract the ease epidemic. And it is an epidemic. Our brains are wired for survival, not for happiness. Our brains carve out the path of least resistance. And this is how we were wired. And we're going to talk a little bit more about dopamine in a little bit, but dopamine is what motivates us to do things. And so back when we were cave people, we needed dopamine to make sure that we would go out and search for food when we were hungry. Well, now we don't have that. All of these things are so easy for us. And so we get our dopamine hits from something else. We're not doing it to survive. We're doing it because we're bored, we're addicted, we're trying to numb, we expect things to be easy. And that's just not how our brains work. So we have so many easy choices in front of us, whether that's scrolling through social media, scrolling through the news, binge watching TV, ordering DoorDash to your house. Like, those things feel good in the short term, but they rarely lead to long-term satisfaction or growth. If you're like me, after scrolling through Instagram for a half an hour, I may feel good in that moment as I'm watching silly videos and reading memes and getting inspired. When I'm done, I was like, God, where did that half an hour go? Imagine if I would have been doing something productive like writing or reading or hanging out with my son. I don't feel good in the long term. And the reality is that I never even remember any of those things for the most part. And a half an hour later, right? It does not bring satisfaction. It does not bring growth. And over time, an over resilience on ease can lead to a sense of emptiness or lack of fulfillment. We're meant to do hard things. We're meant to go out and live our lives. And when we waste it scrolling, sitting on the couch, over consuming, overeating, we don't feel good about ourselves. We don't feel fulfilled. We feel empty inside, but we certainly have filled up our time and our emotions with the ease of all of these things that are at our fingertips. So we've got to counteract the ease epidemic. And then finally, another reason why you want to do hard things every day is it's part of the ownership mindset. And you all know how much I believe that the ownership mindset is the most empowering mindset you can have. When you say, I am in charge of my life, things don't happen to me, they happen because of me. I take responsibility for where I am right now and for the person who I want to be in the future. It's about owning your choices. The ownership mindset is about owning your choices, including the hard ones. Those trade-offs that you make today that might seem tough, but you know the outcome is going to be so much better in the future. Those choices build self-confidence and it leads to autonomy. It leads to growth. And remember, great leaders have the ownership mindset. They embody the ownership mindset. They understand that great leaders are forged in challenges, not in comfort. So if you want to be a great leader, it's not because everything goes well all the time, not because everything is easy over time. It's because you know how to handle hard things and you know how to keep your act together when you're doing hard things, because that's what leadership is about. It's about leading people through challenges, through adversity, to go out and do great things. And you yourself cannot lead others to do that well if you have not gone through adversity and challenged yourself and pushed yourself to grow. So those are the reasons why we need to do hard things every day. Remember, you get strength through adversity. You have to counteract the ease epidemic, and you've got to embody the ownership mindset, which allows you to create the life that you want. All right, so now let's talk a little bit about dopamine. I just listened to a great podcast on the Diary of a CEO with Stephen Bartlett, and he had on Dr. Anna Lembke, who is a professor of psychiatry at the Stanford University School of Medicine and chief of the Stanford Addiction Medicine Dual Diagnosis Clinic. She's also the author of books such as Dopamine Nation and Finding Balance in the Age of Indulgence. And this podcast was so good. And I've studied so much about dopamine because dopamine, we have to have it to live. When they've done studies that have removed the dopamine transmission in brains of rats, they stop eating. We need that motivation. But dopamine is also what can cause us to do the things that we don't want to do because we get these highs and lows of pain versus pleasure. And because I have been studying addiction and trying to understand myself and why I got myself into such a predicament 20 years ago due to substance abuse, I consume all kinds of information on dopamine. And it's really powerful when you understand how the chemicals in your brain work, because then you can go, oh, that's why I'm doing this. And it gives you agency to maybe not do the things that you might do in a moment because your brain is going, I need that dopamine hit. I'd like to see pleasure. So dopamine is simply a chemical that's in your brain. And a lot of people call it the desire chemical. It's the motivation chemical. It's the reward chemical. It drives motivation and it reinforces behaviors. But here's the tricky thing. It's not the reward itself, but the anticipation of the reward that motivates us. And I know this to be so true because back in my addiction days, just the thought of, okay, yes, I'm going to go out, I'm going to go get my drug of choice. Like I could just feel that anticipation. I got that dopamine hit just like, oh, okay, great. I can't wait. Not necessarily when I was actually using my drug of choice. And that's such an interesting thing about dopamine is that it really does drive you to do things that maybe you don't want to do. And you need to understand that. I am really trying to curb my shopping habit. That's my next thing that I'm working on now that I have quit biting my nails, I have quit drinking, I have cleaned up my diet and quit sugar. Now it's to get my shopping under control. And I got an ad through my Instagram feed saying that this purse brand that I love was having a sale and was additional 25% off. I was like, oh, I'm going to go look. And so I went through and I built out a shopping cart and I was like, why am I doing this? I don't need this purse. I absolutely do not need another purse. This is so silly. What is going on? It's dopamine. I want that little fix. And this is what social media does. It's the anticipation of buying that purse that got me so excited, not actually even getting it because I don't need one. I can go pick out one from the 20 that I have in my closet right now. That is an example of what dopamine does. And the reason, again, why dopamine was so important to us back when we didn't have this ease at our fingertips is that it kept us motivated to go out and hunt and gather and to take care of our family. But so the issue is that they weren't easy. We had to work for our dopamine. It's kind of like this. It's like when you clean out your garage, because I also did that this past weekend, you don't want to go do it. It sucks, but you force yourself to do it. And when you get done, you feel really proud of yourself. You feel really accomplished. Like that was fulfilling and rewarding. That's the dopamine hit. But the thing is that you worked for it and you just get this little bit that makes you feel good, that makes you feel like, that was a successful endeavor. And then you move on to the next thing. The issue with the easy dopamine hits today is that it's easy. Modern life floods us with dopamine. And I really love how Dr. Lemke talks about this in the Diary of a CEO episode because you can see it. It's so true. Modern life floods us with dopamine. Social media, we want to seek out the likes and the comments. And we're wondering, are people looking at my posts and are they engaging? And I'm building my self-worth from that. I need to go out and get more likes. We have substances like alcohol and nicotine and sugar. Those things are all legal in our daily lives. It doesn't have to be hard drugs. I mean, the reality is that everybody has a drug of choice, whether that's a substance or whether that is a behavior. And we have to understand that we are getting these dopamine hits from the things that are in our everyday lives, like alcohol, nicotine, sugar. And then we have instant gratification. So streaming videos, we can waste hours binge watching a new Netflix series. We can go shopping online, just like what I almost did of buying a purse that I don't need. We have instant access to pornography. We have instant access to food. We can have it delivered to our door. This instant gratification is just, again, overloading us with dopamine. And as Dr. Lemke talks about in this podcast and how the brain works is that it's like a scale, and you should listen to this podcast to really understand it. But the brain is constantly trying to seek balance, homeostasis. So when we get this dopamine hit, then the brain has to counteract. And so all of a sudden you've got this dopamine here, and now the brain is going, okay, nope, we need to get that dopamine under control. And so we're going to put other chemicals in that make it go this way. And so that's why you get cravings, or you want another drink after you've had one, or you want more food even though you're full, is that the brain tips the scales in its desire to find that homeostasis. We're constantly in this state where the brain is trying to find homeostasis. So we're in this reward pain kind of cycle. This overexposure of dopamine rewires the brain, and it makes us less sensitive to dopamine because now the brain is saying, wow, I'm getting so much dopamine because of the online scrolling, and I just bought something and I just had a couple of drinks and now I want to have a midnight snack. I don't need to make so much dopamine because I'm getting it so much. And so the brain becomes less sensitive to it. And therefore, we need more of those substances and those behaviors to make us feel that dopamine high. And so it really is this negative cycle that we're in. And this is so powerful to understand because when we are getting these easy dopamine hits, we are really working against ourselves, working against the goals that we might have. And this is backed by science. According to a study published in Nature Neuroscience, excessive dopamine stimulation decreases baseline levels of motivation. And now we're all leaders. We want to be motivated every day. We want to grow. We want to grow our companies. We want to build our teams. We want to be great leaders. But when we are in this constant dopamine stimulation, then it's really hard to find that motivation. And that's what's going on in your brain. So how does this tie to working for your dopamine, and why does it matter? When our brain has hard-earned rewards, such as finishing a workout, learning a new skill, cleaning out your garage, getting into a cold plunge, it provides deeper, longer satisfaction because we're not getting that huge hit without the work. And this is because effort increases dopamine release over time, which reinforces our motivation over time. So that's how this all works. And Dr. Andrew Huberman, who also has a great podcast, he talks a lot about dopamine in various episodes. And I love this quote that he said in one of his podcasts: effort and struggle are what unlock our ability to experience the joy of true achievement. We are supposed to do hard things. That is how you really, truly experience the joy of achievement. It's not when it comes easy. When things come easy, we don't even remember it. Effort and struggle matter. So that is how your brain works. I will put a link to this excellent podcast episode because they actually have a scale in there. And it's really a fascinating look into how your brain works. And she dives into a lot around addiction, which of course I always find fascinating just because of my own past history. But here's the thing. Every single one of us has an addiction of something, of some sort. And when you understand how your brain is working, you can do something about it. So it doesn't have to be hard drugs. You don't have to be a severe addict to get something from this episode. It could be, hey, I want to quit drinking, or I want to quit eating so much sugar, or I need to get my shopping under control, or I need to quit being on my phone so much. I'm just constantly looking at my phone even when I'm working. Those are all addictions that if we focus on, we can minimize and we can improve our lives. Okay, so how do you do hard things? Here are my tips. These are the things that I do every day in my life because, as you know, I embrace doing hard things, and I really encourage you to too, because this will help you build the life that you want, help you build resilience and really find joy in those achievements. First, start small. We get overwhelmed when we set some big, huge goal for ourselves and we can't achieve it. So break a challenge into manageable steps. For example, if you want to run a half marathon, don't just go out and run a half marathon. Put your shoes on and go out for a walk, and then go out for a jog and start with a mile, start with 2 miles. There's all kinds of training programs online that will help you get to running that half marathon. But if you don't do small, manageable steps, you are going to hurt yourself and you are going to be demotivated because it doesn't feel good. And this example of running a half marathon, that's a personal thing. But when we do hard things in our personal lives, it helps us do hard things in our work lives too. So I'll give you an example. I just recently did a 5-day fast and then a 10-day detox, part of YPO, Young Presidents Organization. We did a 30-day health and wellness month for January. And doing these hard things, because fasting for 5 days and then going into a 10-day detox where there's no grains, no sugar, no dairy, was a challenge. But I know that I can get through those challenges. And when I know I can get through those challenges, I know that I can handle whatever problem gets thrown at me at work. It's all intertwined. So when you do hard things physically or push yourself or break a bad habit, it absolutely translates into your leadership. Me quitting drinking, that was a really difficult thing. I am such a better leader. I'm so much more present and so much more joyful because I did that hard thing. It absolutely has translated into my leadership. But you got to start small. When I quit drinking, it was, okay, I'm going to do 100 days. Absolutely no way I am not drinking for 100 days. Okay, how do you start doing that? Well, let's break it down into the first 30 days, and then let's break it down into the first 2 weeks, and then let's break it down day by day. Break it into those manageable steps. It will have a ripple effect in your life. Number 2, embrace the discomfort. Reframe pain and struggle as a sign of growth. So this fast that I did it because I want to live a long life. I want to be 70, 80 years old, and I want to feel great. And I'm looking at the decisions that I make today at 46 going, this is going to impact my life when I'm 20 years older. And this is a sign of growth. So you need to reframe that pain and that struggle as a sign of growth, as a sign of you working on that future version of yourself. And you can use a mantra like, this is where the magic happens. That's the mantra that I use to get through this really tough 15-day period was this is where the magic happens. This is where the magic happens. And it was just a cute way for me to be able to put a little bit of fun into the challenge and to remember that the transformation is what comes after the hard work. Number 3, build a reward system. Pair hard tasks with meaningful rewards. For example, let's say that you have a project that you're working on and you need to spend 2 hours to get that done. And you really don't want to do that, but you know that you need to. Have a reward that you're going to give yourself, something that's healthy to do afterwards. Like, okay, I'm going to get this 2-hour block of work done. I'm going to achieve these things in it. And then I'm going to go enjoy my favorite hobby. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to call my best friend and have a conversation with her, or whatever it is that you can create that little reward system. Just make sure that reward system isn't something that's negative, that's going to cause that dopamine spike. Like, I'm going to scroll on Instagram for a half an hour. I'm going to go eat a bunch of Oreo cookies. That's not the point. It is to do something that's really meaningful to you in your life, like exercise, like connect with someone important to you, like read, like meditate, go do your favorite hobby. Number 4 is to practice a dopamine fast. I have never done this before, but I was so motivated by Dr. Lemke's podcast that I'm going to do this spring. And so what this does is you make a list of all of those easy dopamine sources. So social media, junk food, alcohol, substances, shopping, porn, whatever it is that you get those dopamine hits. For me, it's sugar, which I've been really working on quitting. It's scrolling through social media. It's shopping. I'm going to remove those things from my life for a week. Just really get off of my phone, really make sure that my diet is clean and not buy anything. And then I'm going to replace those things with activities requiring effort. So journaling, reading, meditating, exercising, having deep conversations with people who I'm close to, calling friends, cooking dinner with my son. Those things all require effort and also give you those small, more moderated dopamine hits because you're working for it. When you do this, it resets your brain sensitivity to dopamine, making hard work more rewarding. Now, Dr. Lemke says that you should do this for 2 weeks, especially if you have a serious addiction to something. You'll feel like crap for a while, but after 2 weeks, you feel so much better. I absolutely experienced that when I quit drinking. Your brain does start to reset. So you can do dopamine fast with me. I'll let you know when I'm going to do it. And statistics really back this up, not just besides what Dr. Lemke said, but research in behavioral neuroscience shows that intentional absence from this instant gratification can improve your focus and motivation. So that's really great. We need that to be great leaders, to build our teams, to build our companies. And then finally, number 5, surround yourself with the right people. Motivation is contagious. So spend time with people who challenge you and inspire you. This is really important. We get so much reward from deep, meaningful connections, just like my podcast from a couple of weeks ago. Relationships matter. And I love this quote by Jim Rohn, who says, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." So think about that. The person who you want to become, who are you spending time with now? And how are they helping you create that future version of yourself? Spending time with people you love will absolutely help you do hard things, especially if you go do hard things with them, like go for a hike or use them as a accountability buddy for doing hard things. All right, so now that you have tips on how to do hard things and make it part of your regular daily routine, let's talk a little bit about why doing hard things makes you happier. And my next solo podcast is going to be about happiness, so this is a great lead-in. So the first aspect is that doing hard things helps you build resilience and confidence. Overcoming hard things builds self-trust. It allows you to say to yourself, I can handle whatever comes my way. I truly believe this about myself, and it is only because I have overcome so many hard things. I just don't worry that much about difficult things because I know that I can get through it. Never would have happened if I wouldn't have picked myself up off of the floor of my apartment in Austin, Texas, when I was at rock bottom back in 2006, making the move from Austin to Durango when I had no money, no friends, no job, learning how to be a leader, a CEO when I had no experience, getting through really tough times like COVID or big economic downturns, the financial crisis of 2008, 2009. Those are all things that made me stronger and created this belief system that I can handle whatever comes my way. You can do that too. Don't be afraid of doing hard things. It builds self trust, it builds confidence, it builds resilience. And the good thing is, you gain the courage to take bigger risks in life and leadership when you know that you can do hard things. For example, I decided I wanted to write a book. Writing a book is so freaking hard. And because my book has so many personal stories in it, it created a lot of feelings of vulnerability and fear around what if people judge me because of what I wrote, because of the stories I shared. But I still decided to do it. And again, if I wouldn't have done all these other things in my life, I don't think I would have had the courage to put that story out there. So by doing hard things, it allows you to bet on yourself more. And I can promise you, there is no better bet to make than on yourself. Do hard things to build resilience and confidence. Another reason why doing hard things makes you happier is because when you do hard things, you have meaningful accomplishments. Hard-earned rewards are deeply fulfilling because they align with long-term goals. So writing a book, that was hard. It took a lot of time. It was so fulfilling because I had always dreamed of writing a book. I had the goal of being able to impact people and to help people see that there is a different way to lead. And so I did it. It was a hugely meaningful accomplishment. Quitting drinking, it's a hard-earned reward, and it's deeply fulfilling because my life is so much better. I have so much more clarity and energy that's in alignment with my long-term goals. What kind of long-term goals do you have? And how do you start today doing the things that you need to do to create the life you want? That is how you build upon those meaningful accomplishments that feel so real and so good because you did something hard. And finally, doing hard things makes you happier because it enhances your mental and physical health. Hard physical and mental challenges improve your brain function, reduce your stress, increase your overall well-being, makes your body and mind stronger, which, let's face it, as leaders, we need to be in tip-top condition so that we can help our teams be their very best, so that we can build our companies, so that we can do big things in this world. And I love this statistic from the American Psychological Association, where they found that individuals who engage in challenging activities report higher levels of life satisfaction. And that's what we're all here to do, right? We all want to feel happy and satisfied in life. Even if we're not right now, that is a goal. And happiness doesn't always come easily to us. I am one of those lucky ones, maybe annoying ones, who wakes up almost every day feeling happy. But let's face it, a lot of people aren't that way. Not everybody's wired for happiness. So do hard things, push your mind, push your body, and you will improve that brain function. You will reduce stress. You'll increase your overall being. You'll feel better, and you'll have a more satisfying life. All right. So hopefully this podcast has really inspired you to do hard things. I'd like to summarize the key takeaways before we go. First, life is fulfilling when you choose challenges over comfort. And I know that this seems counterintuitive because we seek out pleasure and we seek out ease, but it actually does not create a fulfilling life. Life is more fulfilling when you choose challenges over comfort. Push yourself, grow, get outside those comfort zones. Number 2, the science of dopamine shows us that working for rewards, not taking shortcuts, is what brings lasting happiness. Work for your dopamine. Don't get those dopamine hits from substances, from behaviors, from doing the easy thing. Work for your rewards. And number 3, start small, embrace discomfort, and reset your relationship with dopamine through intentional dopamine fasting. And I'm going to tell you how my dopamine fast goes. I will do a podcast episode on it after I get done with it to share with you what I learned. So as we wrap up this episode, I have a call to action for you. What's one hard thing that you're going to do today to take a step closer to being the best version of yourself? What's that one hard thing? Again, remember, you got to start small. Embrace the discomfort. What's that one hard thing that you're going to do today? Share it with me. I would love to hear. I would love to support you in this journey of doing hard things to create a happier life. All right, take care. I will see you next week with another fun interview. And if you like this episode and you feel that someone would benefit from learning about dopamine or being inspired to do hard things, please share it. I really appreciate it. And if you like this podcast, do the same. Share the overall podcast. Go to YouTube and subscribe to it or your favorite podcast platform, or write a review. That's always helpful. Thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. Going on this journey with you is amazing. We're in the 5th season of this podcast. It's so hard to believe, and it just gets more and more fun every day. So with that, I'll leave you with a fun quote. Hard choices, easy life. Easy choices, hard life. See you next week.